Welcome to the Mind Your Wedding Business podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 30 years ago. Each week on this podcast, you'll hear thought-provoking and empowering interviews with wedding professionals who have found success in the industry. If you're a business-minded wedding pro who loves love, but also cares about their bottom line, buckle up and get ready to learn from a new industry expert each week. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business. I have Kati Kons with us, and she's here going to be telling us how to style ourselves and make us not look like schmucks, I guess would be the word. I don't know. Make us look better than what we probably should be. So, Kati, tell us a little bit about yourself and how we got you here today.
I studied political science in school and was a paralegal for 4 years. And got into the wedding industry by getting engaged, which most people do, and got really into the wedding fashion scene. I love wedding dresses and realized very, very quickly that there were not a lot of options for queer people to get married in anything other than a wedding dress and a suit. And if you're outside of those gender norms, you really don't have an option or a process for finding an option. And so I really got involved in trying to help people find their option. And so that's what I mainly do, is kind of connect people to those resources and help people find something that makes them feel confident. But I also do some personal styling and other styling. So I'm doing a bunch of different things, and that's why I'm here.
I love it. Okay. So we're going to be talking about when should you be caring about your personal style as a wedding vendor. So I guess when we start, just to start us, help the audience, what is a personal stylist?
So a personal stylist is someone that helps you craft your personal brand, in other words, and uses style as a vehicle to communicate your personal brand to the world. And I think that it's really important to do that, especially as a wedding vendor, because you're showing up for the first time, most of the time in person, to meet your couple and a lot of other couples, especially when word of mouth is your main resource for finding other couples and communicating your business, that you show up communicating your personal brand to everyone else. And I'm not saying that you have to dress in a black tie. I'm not saying you have to dress in a ball gown, but dressing in your personal brand, I think, is very, very important. And if you don't know how to do that, I think that's something that we should be working on.
I love it. Well, and it took me back immediately. When I first started my business, I would go to a weekly business meeting, and we would share referrals. It's like a BNI kind of thing, but it was like a local thing. And we did this speed networking, and I sat across from, and I was 22 years old when I did this. So I show up in a hoodie and jeans, and it was 7:00 in the morning. So I'm not a morning person, and I hated being there, but I was told that this is going to be really good for my business. And I sat across from the caterer, and I was always trying to get business from her, and she never gave me business. And she looked at me, and because I told you I started out as a DJ, she called me record spinner, and she goes, "Record spinner, I need you to show up like you want to be here and want to be in business." And so obviously I was not putting off the proper thing. And so I started showing up in a shirt and tie, and I at the time only owned 2 ties. And so I had to quickly diversify my wardrobes. And when you said showing up and making that first impression, that's the first thing that my head went to. So, all right, go ahead.
I just think it's super important. The other thing is there's a lot of decorum around weddings. And I think, especially as a wedding, it's hard to navigate that when it comes to, should you be dressing in a dress code, or should you be dressing in all black, and all of those things. I think it's really, really important to communicate with your couple and communicate with other vendors and figure out what you're doing and have a coordinated approach, so that you aren't sticking out like a sore thumb. You're doing the right thing. Everyone knows what's going on, and the couple is on board.
Yeah, I know. That resonates too, because I just worked with, or about coming out of COVID, there was a photographer out here that decided her brand was going to be bright, vibrant colors. So she, almost think neon. And so she'd be showing up to people's weddings in these bright dresses and sticking out like a sore thumb. And I feel like it wasn't good for, the couples were complaining about what she was wearing. So it makes sense because you're there, you're representing the couple, and sometimes that's why everyone like the default is all black. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. So why is personal style so crucial for a wedding professional?
I think personal style says a lot about who you are before you even open your mouth.
Hmm.
It can say a lot about what you're thinking and what you're feeling and your belief system and everything in between. And it can communicate how important you think your job is to them and how much you put into your business and how much effort you're putting into their day. It can show them how much effort you're putting into their day. So I think it's so important to show up.
That. So how can someone find their personal style?
That's a really challenging question. I
Okay.
think there's a lot of approaches that you can find your personal style. Obviously, you can experiment with different styles and see what you find, but that's a very expensive approach. I think a really nice way to find your personal style, in my opinion, is, and I do this with a lot of the people that I work with, is I set up two mood boards, usually via Pinterest. And I have my clients set up one mood board of all the fashion inspiration that they love. And I say, what if you had to wear outfits for the rest of your life? Put them on this mood board. And don't put it on the mood board if you wouldn't wear it for the rest of your life, right?
Ooh.
And the other mood board, that's only fashion. The other mood board is anything that's art inspiration, architecture, music, literature, sculptures, watercolors, anything art related goes on that second mood board, just to get to know their creative side and where the creative side of their brain lies. And then when to find their personal style, it's kind of marrying the two. It's kind of how do you put words into what the creative side is and kind of translating it into the fashion one. I think nowadays the way that you could do that is probably putting those images into an AI bot.
Oh, that's so
um,
crazy.
but also you could probably just find similarities. Is it whimsical? Is it super colorful? Is it like loud? Is it all of these things? I think it's just finding the similarities and looking. It's identifying patterns in people's creative minds, pretty much.
Now, does their style change as time goes on, or does someone you think hold on to their style? Because I remember when I started my business, I was very much into like bright neon colors and everything was neon because I started my business in the 80s, but now, I'm a little bit more blue and I wear a lot of blue when I dress. Yeah. So,
Well, I think personal style is actually something that's never fully achieved. I think it's always aspirational.
okay.
So I think I don't think I've ever found my personal style. I think people can identify my personal style before I could. And I think that's really funny that like personal style can be identified by someone else other than you. But I think it's always changing because you are always changing and your mind is always changing and your heart is always changing. And so things are always changing. Your inspiration is always changing and the times are always changing. So yeah, I think it's going to evolve with the times. But I think it's also important to come back to the things that pull on your heartstrings and come back to the things that remind you of home. And sometimes those things never change. So you might have
Okay.
similar inspiration, but some of the things might change, if that makes sense.
No, totally makes sense. And I've always liked blue. So that makes sense why I probably gravitate to the color blue. All right. So, how should someone's outfit change based on the occasion? For example, like a networking event versus a wedding day for a wedding professional.
Taking the example you used earlier of wearing neon to a wedding day,
Okay.
I think a networking event is a great place to wear neon colors, especially if that's your personal brand, because you're trying to show up as who you truly are. And at a networking event, not only are you trying to stand out, but you are trying to show up for your fellow peers. At a wedding, you are trying to be yourself, but you're trying to also fit into someone else's day and play a
Mm,
part in someone else's day. And that mold is very specific and you're playing a role. And so I think you have to take a step back and understand that this is not, you are not the main character that day. And you might not be wearing pink neon feathers. And that's okay. You can still slay and go off, just maybe in a more muted kind of way, if that makes sense. You can still look great in all black. Like you can still look great. So I think
yeah,
it's a balance for sure.
yeah, because you like for some reason I don't know why. I'm a stickler on little things, and like there's a caterer that we work with that'll allow their staff to wear like uh, Converse, but they're not all black, so they have a little white on them, and it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look like polished. I mean, if we're outside and that's the look, but when you're serving a sit down dinner, it just doesn't match.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But
there's so
also
many.
wearing all black doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like a plain black t-shirt. It could be like a
Hmm.
black collared button down, or it could be like with a black tie. There's different
Hmm.
ways to dress up all black. There's a difference between wearing all black trainers and all black dress shoes,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
in like joggers versus dress pants. Like there's a very big difference there. And I think that like those different choices of like accessories make a really big difference as well. And I think accessories are kind of lost in terms of masculine attire. I saw your eyes kind of dark
No,
when I said
yeah,
accessories. But I think accessories are something that really, really dress something up, even when you are wearing a t-shirt. So
yeah.
it's just
I like accessories, so
yeah.
the more the merrier. So, all right. Before we move on, since we're on the subject of wedding attire, jeans.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are jeans appropriate? Not appropriate?
This is a hard question because I'm queer.
Okay.
And I belong in a queer space, which means queer weddings are a different story.
Okay.
In that you can be whoever you want to be at a queer wedding, which means you can wear jeans at a queer wedding. You can wear,
Okay.
but most of the time it's like a Canadian tuxedo where you're wearing jeans
Got you.
with jeans, right? You're
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
wearing like jeans in a t-shirt situation.
Yes.
But I will say, most of the time, the people wearing jeans to a wedding are wearing jeans and a t-shirt. So I will
Yes.
say on this topic, my definition of formal attire varies greatly from the average person because the definition of formal attire revolves around the historical definitions and like social norms
Gotcha.
that we have hailed from tradition, that like society has hailed from tradition, from the patriarchy and from white supremacy over time. And like it's just true. And
Yeah.
so like we in weddings especially, I don't know why, but in weddings especially these trends are upholded, and so there isn't really a space for queer people to exist in those social norms of formal attire. We don't really have something like a default formal attire for queer people to go to. So to give you an example of what I mean is on the red carpet, the Met Gala just happened.
Yeah.
Red carpet, celebrities don't just default to a suit or a dress in formal occasions. They mix it up. They have so much fun. Billie Eilish wears t-shirts and shorts. People wear whatever they want. Billy Porter wears dresses that are also suits. Anyone
Yeah.
can do anything they want on a red carpet as long as it's high fashion. So why is that a different definition of formal than what we define at weddings as formal?
That's amazing. I never even a million years thought about it that way. And I just know that jeans is like a controversial thing because a lot of it is based on like a country club setting. Like there's a country club that we work at, and I'm like, hey guys, we're going to this country club, so even like our setup guys can't wear jeans. So it's like, hey, you need to make sure you're not in jeans. But I
Well,
never even thought about it.
country clubs are
That depth.
inherently economically racist as well. So like that the
Yeah,
history of that is like important to remember. But like uh Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake wore all jeans to the red carpet before, or maybe it was the Video Music Awards or something in the
yeah,
90s or 2000s. I don't remember. But like I think it's important that to recognize that we in celebrities define formal attire differently than we do. And if we define formal attire in this weird social norm kind of way, and they do in terms of like a high fashion situation, like how can we redefine it so that it's more palatable towards the everyday person now? How can we do that? And I think honestly, jeans is something that should exist in an everyday situation, but I mean, not in a way that people do it now, which is jeans and a t-shirt. So
yeah.
complicated,
No,
but
yeah, because there's ways to dress it up and make it look nice. And sometimes I joke, especially with that country club, it's like, hey, like jeans, some of my like jeans cost 100 and something bucks, where I can get a pair of chinos off the shelf at Target for $30. And what is that? That doesn't mean I don't know. It's very interesting. And my 13-year-old daughter is gay, and the whole time you're saying that is I'm like thinking about how hard it is that she struggles with just trying to find clothes. And
Yeah.
shopping with her is always an adventure. She has a hard time feeling comfortable.
Mhm.
Thank you, because you gave me a whole new appreciation for shopping with her. So
Yeah.
yeah, just need to be a little bit more patient with that young girl. So, all right. So why, since we jumped into the whole jeans thing and got derailed, I didn't mean to derail you. Sorry, but what should people consider before choosing an outfit?
To a wedding or
Or
generally?
just let's do it in general.
Okay. Every day when I choose an outfit, what's the one thing that I can put on that'll make me feel happy today?
Mm,
Like, in my head, in this life, we are forced to wear clothing for God knows what reason. And not only that, there are rules about the clothing that we have to wear. And we might as well get some joy out of the clothing that we are wearing.
hmm.
So I go ahead and I put on bright yellow shoes or an orange shirt. And this is my favorite thing. I'm wearing a gold necklace under the collar of my shirt today. I don't know.
Yeah,
But I love wearing things that really like just make me happy and just thinking about it. So I just do one thing every day with my outfit that will bring me joy. That's
I
how I
love
go.
that.
Yeah.
I teach when I go out and speak, I do a lot of things on networking, and that's what I tell people. I go, it's important that you choose an outfit that's going to make you feel comfortable and make you feel like confident. You know, like when you go into a room, because you're going in, it's like when you go to network, and if you know just a handful of people, you're still, it's like you're being thrown to piranhas, you know, and you're like, you better be comfortable and confident when you're going in there. So I think clothes helps set that a lot. And just thinking back over the years, there's many times where like, I know I felt confident because I look good, like going into somewhere. So I love that. All right. What question should someone ask themselves before investing in new pieces for their wardrobe?
How many outfits in my wardrobe can I make with this one piece of clothing compared
Ooh,
to the other thing I'm thinking of buying?
I love that.
That's super random, but if you don't
No.
already, I have a digital wardrobe app on my phone where I take pictures of everything that I own and I upload it to the app. And I can compare based upon the things that I want to buy, how many outfits I can make. And it's like you can see how versatile something is that you're about to buy.
Wow. What's the app called?
Not only that, but then you can see by your average spend how versatile your investments are. The app is called Index, but there are a
Okay.
lot of these different apps. INDYX.
But that's genius, because then you can buy something that's probably a little bit more than what you would normally spend. But if you can get multiple uses out of it, yeah, then it's not, that cost doesn't seem as bad.
Absolutely.
So
It
there
will
was a,
last you longer for sure over time.
oh, yeah, it won't be in the back of the closet.
Yes, yeah, things that will last you longer, like you said, investment pieces. I know it's like hurting the bank right now, especially given, economics. Um, but like spending just a little bit more on something that's a little bit more quality, paying attention to the label when it says polyester versus cotton actually makes a really, really big difference in terms of longevity in
Okay.
the closet. So that's I think something that would really pay off.
How often should someone purge your closet? Like, just if you haven't worn it in the last 6 months, a year, 2 years?
How often does it bother you?
Oh, fair enough. Or
I mean,
how
if it
often?
doesn't bother you and you have closet space, who cares? Keep it.
Yeah. Or you don't have to move it if you don't, if
Well,
you're one of
I
those.
mean, purging is just producing more waste, and I just don't like
Yeah.
wasting. Like, why not keep it if you can keep it? I mean, if anything that you have becomes vintage by the end of your lifetime, I'd love to keep everything that I have. I just don't have space for it.
I
So if it
know.
doesn't bother you and you have space, keep it.
It's my daughter loves to shop at the vintage clothes store,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that's her favorite place. She can spend
Future
hours.
vintage.
Yeah,
Future vintage is the way to go.
yeah, that's amazing. All right, so if someone already has like a fun personal style, how can they incorporate that into like a professional look?
The best way to incorporate your personal style into a professional look is to understand when there are boundaries and understand when to say fuck it.
I
There
love
are
it.
a lot of times when you do have to say, listen, this is a thing that I have to not stand out too much, like a wedding when you're a wedding vendor.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of situations where people just comply with social norms and they don't need to. Like
Hmm.
when you're going to, I don't know, court. Sometimes actually, I will say, I was a paralegal in my old life, and some federal courts will kick you out if you're not wearing formal attire, even
Mm.
though rule against it. And sometimes I think those rules are worth breaking. I think there's a lot of unsaid norms out there about what to wear, and I think that they are so restrictive in terms of how we express ourselves and how we feel joy in our everyday life. And I think that people just need to like sit there and self-reflect and think about how are you presenting yourself every single day and the choices that you're making with your clothes.
Mm.
Is it really appropriate to be wearing all gray and all black every single day?
It's kind of boring.
Especially in an economic downturn. Actually, it's very important if you look at the history of like uh, the uh, the rise and the fall of the political economy. Like when the economics are doing really well, fashion is that it's really like whimsical and fun and risky and like exuberant. And then when economics are doing really bad, there's a recession. Things are boring. Things are minimalist. Things are neutral. That type.
Mm.
When there was a recession, I think at the end of the 80s, early 90s, things
Hmm.
became very minimalist, very neutral. That's when like the Michael Kors of the world became really famous, and there was like um, more. There was more tailored suits and more boring stuff going on in the work world attire. That's when like the funness of the 80s kind of died down in terms of like attire. So it just when we're going into this economic downturn, especially, I think it's really important to like stick to your guns and wear fun stuff and don't let the like sadness of the world get to you because I think that expressing yourself in a fun way is a form of protest sometimes.
I love that. Do you know Holly Gray at all?
No.
She's a wedding planner, and so and I'm gonna probably butcher her company, but it's like anything but gray. And you see her, and she's the most bright, vibrant person, but she will not do a gray, boring event. Is basically what it comes down to. She's only in there for the fun and the color. Yeah, I love it too. Holly's a great person
That's
out
great.
there. So, how do you feel about someone having a uniform to avoid like decision fatigue? Like, I'm going to wear this same thing over and over again because, I don't want to make decisions, or I don't like to shop. Maybe that'd be another, like I don't like to go out there and shop. So I'm just going to buy the same boring things that I always buy.
Well, I feel like you shouldn't be buying more boring things if you don't like shopping. I feel like you should just stick to what you have because we shouldn't be consuming more. I think if you have decision fatigue, that's fine to keep wearing your stuff. Keep wearing what you already have. That's great. But I think what people struggle with more is how do you make more use of what you already have? I think that's actually something a lot of people struggle with. Is like how do you
Uh,
get more creative? Because it kind of like hurts to start thinking like outside the box. And I think like fun ways to get more creative is like people think that there's a way to think about fashion in terms of rules. Like if you have skin showing on your arms, then your legs should be covered. And there are
mm,
no rules or if you have wide leg pants, then you have to have skinny shoes. Those are not
mm.
real. Those are not real at all. The thing about
They're
fashion
all
is,
made. They're all
yeah,
made up.
all made up. And so I think the thing to realize about fashion is that like anything goes and anything that makes you like happy and feel joy and make you feel confident literally goes, will make you feel good, will go. That's how it goes. And if you're rocking the weirdest thing in your closet, people will stare at you and be like, "Oh, that's the new thing." Because
Yeah.
confidence and looking like you know what you're doing is so it's all psychology. It's all about how you think about going about it.
Wow. I love that too. If you wear it confidently, it'll be the new style.
It
Because
really will. It
yeah,
really will.
I feel like someone does something crazy, and next thing you know, we're all doing the same thing.
That's
Or,
what influencers are changing the game. These
oh, I didn't
well,
even
these
think about
people,
that.
these everyday people are just doing something very confidently, and now they're having a much bigger influence than like these other celebrities would have. And these other celebrities like play the game, and now influencers aren't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does.
So
So that's really probably changing fashion totally.
sure. Yeah, yeah, they call it democratizing fashion, where
Okay.
influencers are kind of aiding this. trend where now fashion is kind of having a trickle down effect where more everyday people are getting into fashion instead of it being a
Mm.
luxury elite type of industry. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they also think fast fashion is aiding this effort, right? But I really want to steer clear of like that narrative.
Okay.
They don't, I don't like, I don't like the idea, and I also don't think it's correct that it's a bit of a regressive thought that like just because fashion is being democratized doesn't mean it's like bad for the earth. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Obviously fast fashion and the ethics of sustainability and the ethics of like literally the clothing supply chain are really really bad in what we're doing, but like they've always been bad. That
Mm-hmm.
the production process of fast fashion has been like changing the planet superbly. But I will say is fast fashion is making things much worse, but democratizing fashion does not mean it's bad. Like, it's not bad that everyone has access to fashion. That's
Yeah.
not what's making it bad. And I
Hmm.
think that there's this narrative that because everyone has access to it, we have to pull back. And I don't like that. I don't like that there's this elitism around fashion that only certain people can partake in it. Like, that's not fair. And I think the best way to like dip your toe into fashion is like not necessarily vintage because vintage can be like really expensive sometimes, but like
It really can.
resale, like resale apps, any type of resale, like Poshmark, Depop, those types of apps where you can buy and sell peer to peer is a great way to
Hmm.
get into it.
And so, speaking of shopping, like, how often should someone be shopping? I mean, I know this. I mean, like in general, like for the average person.
Are you asking how often I shop? Because
I know I didn't want to ask that because I.
if you're asking how much I shop for new things, it's probably a couple times a year,
Okay.
which is not a lot in terms
Yeah.
of the average person. I shop almost exclusively resale and vintage. Um, and if you ask many people into fashion, that's pretty common. Not because it's high end, but because things have higher quality back then than they do now.
Yeah. True.
So obviously people are looking for investment pieces, people are looking for really cool pieces, people are looking for things that are more affordable that are really cool, and a lot of people can't afford the things that are high end now, so they look to the past to get the higher end cool pieces, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's how often do you shop is, well, what can you afford, um, but just don't make it fast fashion. So how often can you afford, and how often can you afford resale is the answer to that question, I think.
Yeah. I love that. So it's a good way to think about because I have a friend of mine that probably shops a couple times a month for new clothes, and I'm like, what do you do with your old clothes? It seems.
That's fine, but like how much a couple times a month? Like, is it one piece or is it like 10?
Yeah.
Big difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a big difference. So
I don't know.
now, and speaking of that, does online like shopping for fashion like change because now that you have so much at your fingertips there in the world of like online compared to like going to the store? Like I'm older, so I like to like see it and try it on to make sure it fits. I get nervous buying things like online. Unless it's from a company that I know, like I've worn that size from that company before, so I feel a little bit more comfortable. But just randomly buying something.
My answer is counterintuitive.
Okay.
Um, yes and no. Um, online makes everything more accessible. Especially in the world of wedding fashion. I told you I help queer people find their wedding attire. There's
Mm-hmm.
no process for finding your wedding attire when it's not a suit or a wedding dress, which means there are no in-person shops in your area for
Yeah.
finding wedding attire when it's not a suit or a dress. So what do? Is you go online. So every single client, every single couple that I have helped have got either flown somewhere to get their wedding attire or ordered online because that's
Wow.
the only way to do it. There are no, unless you're living in New York or living in LA or living in some sort of like fashion capital of the world, like there is no easy way to obtain that attire because it's just not accessible. It's not in the mainstream and it's not readily available for everyone. So actually online shopping is is not great, and I know that's where you were going, but I think it's really good in some respects,
Okay.
like finding your queer wedding attire.
No, and that I'll be honest with you, it makes sense because there's a conference that I go to all the time, and there's always these Pinterest boards, and you have to theme a party, and so you're always looking for something. And I end up, believe it or not, I go on Amazon and I find some cheap something that works, and that because it's always like kitschy, and you're only going to wear it once, but then sometimes it comes and you're like, wait, like this size that I normally wear is not like way too small, or wow, it's way too, so it's not, it's always kind of drives me nuts with the
There's an
sizing, but
app that can size things based upon it's like an AI app that you put in your own measurements, I think, and
okay.
then it like sizes based upon the size chart, and then it tells you which one you should buy.
I love that.
I forget what it's called though.
It's okay. Just throw it in Google or throw it in ChatGPT, and they'll
Yeah.
tell you what it is.
I forget. I'm sorry. Um
No, that's great. No, that would be really helpful to have because because that's
yeah.
the thing. You could, especially I know for more like men, it's a little bit more cut and dry, but women have a little harder time because at one my wife is always like, I'm like a large here, but I'm a medium or a small at this place, and like they just make their sizes so different. So I'm gonna find that out and give it to my wife because that would make her day.
I also know that there's more and more stores are integrating like AI widgets that will help you size at home through like
Oh,
taking a video of yourself or something to like find the right size. And that's obviously like an expense that companies don't want to pay for yet, but I know it's becoming a thing. It's just going to be slow to be integrated.
well, and I would imagine too, as retail stores are becoming less and less out there, they're going to need to invest in that because that people are going to need to be able to have tools like that.
100%. And
Yeah,
especially because there's a lot more online retailers than there are in-person retailers already. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you think of high-end retailers like Net-a-Porter, Mr. Porter as well, like they're strictly online.
Hmm.
So, anyways,
Yeah, no, and I feel like too, it's like some of these companies, these small companies, are popping up out of nowhere, and like I love Allbird shoes, which is not fashionable at all, but they're very comfortable, and they become and being here in Silicon Valley, they like took off here because everyone wore them at Google, at Meta, and they become like the business shoe, and I like sometimes will wear some of I have a couple different fun colors and stuff and wear them as shoes, but like that company came out of nowhere, and they have a few retail stores there and there, but you mainly buy their stuff online. I think there's more and more companies like that now that are out there, so
closer you to Silicon Valley. I bet you see a lot of people in hoodies and blazers nowadays.
we do. And I am literally like from Apple, from Meta, the Meta campus, I'm like maybe 30 minutes and like maybe 45 minutes away from Apple, so
I
yeah,
gotta say something
it's
off the record when we.
when we're done, I love it, I can't wait. But that nerdy style, is in here in California because that's you see a lot of that,
Yeah.
walking
It's a
around. So
uniform.
yeah, and you to your point, it's like people see it and that become and you're confident in it and it becomes a style. So I love it.
What celebrities do you look to for your style inspiration?
Me?
Yes.
Uh I don't I celebrities. I don't really. I'll see someone wearing something and I'll go, that's cool. Like randomly. So I love sports and I'm not a fan of the Miami Dolphins, but I think their coach is hilarious. And they did a Hard Knocks show on them. And he was wearing a Louis Vuitton hoodie while he was doing like one of his press game things. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then I went and looked for it until I found out it was a $1,400 hoodie. And I'm like, I loved it. I'm like, I want that hoodie. I want it. And then I'm like, oh, no, I do not. I don't make my McDaniel money to be buying that hoodie.
Uh,
So, yeah.
I want to plug my favorite comedian, one of my favorite
Okay.
comedians. I will say one of, because I
Okay.
actually in person met one of my favorite comedians the other day. I didn't know they were based in DC. It
Oh,
was
that's
amazing.
awesome.
Their name is Frankie French, by the way. They're amazing. And this is Alok Vade Menon, and they're so funny, but their style is incredible. They're just like a very whimsical personality, and they show it with their style. And I'm just like, we need more people like that. I think that are
I,
just like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear whatever I want, you know. But anyways, I just thought I'd plug that because great sense of style. Uh,
I love that. And so, but who is your favorite comedian that you met the other day?
Frankie French.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
Yeah, Frankie
Wow.
French. It was so funny.
Wow.
I don't want to expose the situation in which I met them, but
No, 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 no. Fair enough.
the way I found out it was them, because I didn't recognize their face because I'd heard them like on a podcast, and I saw them in person, but I wasn't like close enough to the stage where I could have recognized their face. And the reason I recognized who they were is they said one of their jokes to me.
How funny.
And I literally said to them, "What is your name?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Excuse me?" It's like, "Oh my God, you're stealing someone's joke if it's not you," which is
Yeah,
so
that's
funny.
funny.
And it was great.
I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna look up that comedian. I'm always looking for good comedy. I can't. There's not enough good comedy out there. Yeah, I'll look her up. So, all right. Anything? I think we got through it all. Is there anything else you think we're missing? I mean, I feel like we could talk forever.
No.
All right, I love it. How do? Well, first off, I like to ask all my folks what's their favorite app. You gave us a few apps throughout there, but like, what's an app that you're using every day that you feel like you can't get out without right now?
I am gonna plug an app that I just learned about, and I loved it until I started using it more, and now I hate it. But I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it because I'm really mad at it right now.
Oh, I love that.
Because I'm just like, I want this to get back to them. Because I need them to get better. It's called Cosmos, and it's like Pinterest but better. And it basically is, if you're on Google or even Pinterest itself or Instagram or TikTok, and all you have to do is click like the share button, and you click share to Cosmos, and you click which album you want to save it to, or whichever pin board or whatever they call it.
All right,
And
similar to
you
Pinterest.
automatically, from wherever you are on your phone, can share images, videos, text, sounds to this app. And I was like, that's incredible. Now I can share
genius.
Any medium to my Pinterest board whenever I want. And then I was like using it, and I'm like creating an inspo board for this like homework assignment I have for I'm taking a styling course right now. And I'm like, you can't even see half of the pictures.
Oh no.
What is going on? I'm so mad. So
I don't blame you.
Everyone get mad at Cosmos so that they get better. I'm so mad.
Yeah. Because it's a genius idea if you think about it. It really is. And then like I had an app that I loved forever, and then like used forever, and then they like new CEO came in and ruined the app, and it was called Evernote. I loved Evernote. And I would
Evernote?
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Evernote, basically like your notes app on your phone, but at the time it was better than any notes app out there. And I was a diehard. Like they even shipped me an Evernote shirt because I was such an avid user of their app. And then they like, and I paid for it and the whole thing. And then all of a sudden they doubled their price and overnight, and like new people came in and like ruined the whole like interface. And it was not as fun. So I switched to the Apple Notes app, and I've never looked back. So,
you know what's nice? Notion.
Oh, Notion is that kind of came out. I really like. I've heard really good things about it.
AI integration is really fun too.
Yeah, I heard it's really good.
It's cool because I have the AI subscription because I am impulsive, so I bought it once for the whole year, and so now I just have it. And so I do the thing where I'm like, hey, create me a calendar with this many events in it for the whole week. And it just creates me a whole calendar with the whole sheet. It's all organized for me already. And everything's all laid out for me in order of priority and whatever. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, and if you had to go do that on your own, it would take you forever.
It would take you like 3 hours.
Yeah. And it populates. I know. I'm sure. Do you say thank you, and are you nice to your Notion person over there? Okay, you should, because when the machines that come back to get us, they're going to remember who was nice to them and who was not. So I always say thank you.
I'm not going to be friends with them when they come back.
Well, you want to be spared. You want to be spared is what it's going to.
I'm going to be part of the resistance. I don't know about you.
I love it. That's great. Someone taught me that. I was at a conference. They're like, you need to say thank you and please to all these AI things, because they're someday going to
get on their good side.
Yes, get on it now. All right. Well, thank you. So, Katie, how does someone get in contact with you?
You can find me at Portrait of a Bride on Fire on Instagram or TikTok, or at my website, which should be linked in the show notes.
We will have all of it in our show notes.
And that's it.
All right. Katie, thank you so much. You made me a little self-conscious about what I'm wearing, but I will...
Get yourself a ring watch. You'll never be self-conscious again.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's fancy.
It's working, too. Oh, I can't... Now you can see it. There
yeah.
Anyway.
I love that.
I know.
I have an Oura ring to tell me how to sleep better and all that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it actually, the Oura thing is, I got it for Christmas and it's great. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, I should
it's like, one. It's telling me like, yep, dipshit, I didn't sleep much last night. And yes, that's why I'm probably grumpy today. And like, you can't, the numbers don't lie when some of that stuff. It's like, yeah, you only slept for 4.5 hours last night. Yeah, I am grumpy today because of that. So anyway, but I like your ring watch. That's pretty cool.
Thanks.
So. All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate having you on the show. And folks, until next time, we'll see you next time on Mind Your Wedding Business. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business, brought to you by Wedding IQ. If you've got a topic you'd love to hear us cover, or if there's an area of your business you're struggling with, let us know and we'd be happy to help. Don't forget to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're a fan, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and left a review. It helps more wedding pros find us and learn more from our guests too. Thanks again for listening to Mind Your Wedding Business. We'll catch you next time.